That's my song. It's my NFL song. It's my NFL non-copyright song. Woo! Woo! Yay! All right. Hello Twitch. Hello YouTube. I'm here to do NFL Week 1 predictions with me. It's your guy, SDS Man, the one and only, the man himself, the legend, the myth. Y'all know him. If you're watching this on Twitch live, hello. I won't be reading the chat. I apologize. If you're watching this on YouTube, make sure to go to my Twitch to see more stuff like this and just general content, I guess, quote unquote, in general. Or go to my Twitter, whatever. Follow me there. I'll tweet out some stuff, but this isn't generally a sports Twitch page or a sports YouTube page, but I have declared my love of football many times. I have done live streams in the past where we make predictions, mostly playoff predictions, but I'm going to be starting this up every single week. I am going to be doing a prediction the upcoming week during the NFL 2018 to 19 season. From now all the way to the Super Bowl, I plan to do this every week. I don't really have a set date yet. You can watch it on YouTube. They will be uploaded to YouTube as soon as I'm done streaming them. But if you want to watch them live, just come to my Twitch channel. I'm thinking of doing them on Wednesday mornings or afternoons. I don't really know. I know it's Tuesday afternoon right now. But week 1, the football season starts in 2 days. I'm very excited. But I won't be able to do this tomorrow or on Thursday. But I also won't be able to do this next Tuesday either. So I'm not really sure what the schedule is going to be. Just stay tuned for that if you care. But I guess you just want to see what my predictions are for week 1. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go... my predictions are going to be based on each team's sort of like build-up, meaning like what they did during the off-season, how they were last year, and just generally what I expect from the team. Obviously, it's hard that it's week 1 because... well, it's week 1. The off-season changes a lot of teams. Players leave, players come in, teams make trades, players get paid more, get paid less. There's all sorts of stuff that happens, obviously, during the off-season, and the draft is obviously a huge component of that. So it's really hard to really predict how some of these teams are going to be. But at the end of the day, this is all for fun. Just want to make my predictions, put in my 2 cents, see if anyone gives a shit, I guess is all I really want to do. So that is exactly what we are going to be doing, starting off with Thursday's game. I do want to say I'm not going to be predicting any score. I am just going to be predicting who's going to win. I might say like, oh, I expect this score, but no exact score will be predicted. I don't really like doing that stuff. I just want to play it simple, play it easy. Who's going to win and why I think that they're going to win. All right, first game, Thursday night, 2 days from now. The Philadelphia Eagles, Super Bowl 52 champions, versus Atlanta Falcons, Super Bowl 51 chumps. I'm sorry, I have to mention that. I legally have to mention that. This is an interesting game to start off of. These two teams have had not like too interesting offseason. Like they definitely made gains. Both these teams actually have made games. Both good teams last year. And both have added a lot. The Falcons, I'm really looking forward to see how Calvin Ridley does. And the Eagles seem to have strengthened their defensive line even though that was one of their strongest part of their teams last year. It's gotten even better. Yeah. Well, I will say Nick Foles has been confirmed to be playing for the Eagles, which is, I guess, concerning a little bit. Yes, he's a Super Bowl MVP. Yes, he destroyed the Vikings last year. But remember his game against Atlanta last year? He didn't really do that well, despite the team winning. I mean, Atlanta, they blew it. Of course, they blew the game. First and goal on, like, what was it? Like the 10-yard line, maybe 9-yard line? I don't really exactly remember, but yeah, they definitely blew that. But I don't know. Both these teams have really good defenses, even the Falcons. And the Falcons could have had a little bit of an offensive slump last year, especially compared to the 2016 season. So I can't. I mean, if they have their defense from last year and their offense from 2 years ago, then this team's going to be explosive. I do expect a lot from these teams this year in general. I think they both have a very strong chance of winning their division. The Eagles have a pretty tough road ahead of them, though. And the Falcons are in a tough division. So this game is important. I mean, especially for the Falcons, winning the division could come down to 1 or 2 games. And losing this game might end up in the end of the season, making them one game short to win the NFC South division title. So it's hard for me to say. So this game is so important to each team. It's hard for me to say, how that's going to affect, if that really will have an effect on the game. I don't think it will, but I think that is important to keep in mind. But I don't know. Despite obviously Philadelphia being at home, I'm going with I'm gonna have to go with the Falcons in this one. I really am. I'm gonna go with the Falcons on the win. Now I don't think this is going to be a shutout. I actually think this is going to be a heavily defensive game. I think this will come down to which defense plays better. I think I actually probably have confidence more in Philadelphia's defense, but I think Atlanta's offense will be able to sort of manipulate it a little bit, at least in the deep ball game. I think that Calvin Ridley, this is Calvin Ridley's game. I really think so. I think he is something special. I know I don't see a lot of people talking about him. I know he was picked late in the first round, but I do think he is gonna have a special game here, and that might end up determining the win. I also think that Philadelphia's defense will ultimately will stay strong, making this a low scoring game. But I do think the Falcons will win by a substantial margin, like maybe 8 points, 9 points. Maybe that's being generous. I don't know. I do see this being a low scoring game, a heavily defensive game, and I honestly think the first quarter is going to be sort of just rough. I don't think there's going to be much scoring in the first quarter. I think it's going to pick up in the second, third, and fourth quarter, and this will ultimately fall in the hands of the Falcons. You can call me crazy, call me wrong. That's what I see happening. So I'm going with the Falcons on this one. Next game, the Cincinnati, can't even say it. Cincinnati Bengals, or Bengals, I call them Bengals, and Indianapolis Colts. So the Bengals, both these teams are in a rebuild year. Both these teams have had rough years for 2 years in a row, despite the year before that having good years. Both teams were a playoff team. And then the next two following years, they both played very poorly. Some of it's due to injury in the Colts case, and some of it is just being average in the Bengals case. Both fired their head coach. They have new head coaches. And I don't know. I will be honest, I don't know much about the Bengals. Like, I don't really follow them too heavily. I follow the Colts a little bit more. But it's really hard for me to make a prediction on this. But I think if Andrew Luck he's playing. If Andrew Luck can sort of maintain his mobility, my biggest concern with the Colts is Andrew Luck's playing, yes, and he's probably going to look good. But his injury is going to affect him. Whether he runs slower, whether his pocket presence is a little sloppy, whether his throwing isn't on par. I don't know. Maybe he won't be too affected, but in some way or another he's going to be affected. But I just don't see the Bengals don't have much, don't have too many weapons, it seems like. I mean, I don't really know who they picked up. I maybe this is just me being ignorant, but I just don't see them really doing anything. Like, I don't think they're going to really have a presence in not only the AFC North, but the AFC in general. The Colts, however, I think are a team people are sleeping on just a little bit. I think the Colts really have the chance to do something special. They really have some weapons despite some concerning injuries, not even with Luck, but some of their receiving core. My biggest concern with both these teams, especially the Colts, are their defenses. I think the Colts definitely have made strides to make their defense better, but I just can't see them having this top tier defense. What I do think this game is going to be is sort of a mid-tier scoring game, probably in the 20s, maybe early 30s. But I'm seeing sort of like a little bit of a mini shootout here, but I ultimately am going to pick the Colts winning this one. I just think that they're going to pull it out. I think Andrew Luck is going to have at least an above average performance, and I think that will lead them to maybe, I don't know, like a lead. I'm not going to say how many points, but I think they're going to win. I'm confident the Colts are going to win, whether it's close or not close. I'm putting my money on the Colts. I think that Andrew Luck can easily win them this game, and I think that there's a few things up their sleeves, like a new coaching core. I just don't think the Bengals really have enough weapons to lock down Andrew Luck, and this will show if Andrew Luck is back or not. Maybe he'll have a rough week in week 1, then come back in week 2, but if he does well here, I think that is to say Andrew Luck is back. But obviously, his shoulder, still something to be concerned about. And we'll see how that ends up affecting this game. All right, next game, Bills and Ravens. I can see why the Ravens will be and Bills might have a little mini rivalry here. I mean, the Bills made it in place of the Ravens, and the Bills only made it to the playoffs because the Ravens lost against the Bungles. But, both these teams acquired a lot, even in the quarterback position, especially for the Bills, during the offseason. I'm not too confident in these teams, especially the Bills. I'm definitely not confident in the Bills this year. I think that their quarterback situation is a little concerning. I just don't think they really have too many weapons. I mean, they definitely have some, but I just can't. They don't seem to be that explosive team that I think they think they are almost. The Ravens, however, have been very impressed with. I've been watching their preseason. They've played very well during the preseason, and I think if that carries over, they will absolutely dominate this game. And that's why ultimately I'm going to be going with the Ravens in this case. I think that they have a pretty strong chance of winning it. Just from a talent perspective, their defense seems to have gotten a little bit better. And I think that Joe Flacco will have a decent game, and I think they can beat the Bills. I don't think the Bills' defense, especially their secondary, is enough to contain the Ravens per se. But I don't think this is going to be an offensive shutout. I'm predicting. I would predict a game in the 20s, maybe even low 20s for both teams. I think it'll be. It could be close. It cannot be close. But I see the Ravens just running away with it, whether they run away with it in the first or the fourth quarter. I don't know. I am just expecting total at least some domination here by the Ravens. I think they're the better team. They've really impressed me of how they played in the offseason, and they have more than one decent quarterback. Can't say that about the Bills. All right, next game, the Saints and the Bucks. For some, this is an easy game, and for me, it's also an easy game to predict. The Buccaneers may be the worst team in the NFC this year. They're definitely they're definitely down there. They need a lot of rebuilding to do, but my biggest sort of question mark and concern with the Bucks is who do they have? I mean, I know they got up JPP and they picked up a few other players, and their draft was all right, but this is I'm not confident in Winston. I'm just not. He's suspended too. He's missing the first 3 or 4 games, so he's not even playing in this game. So you're looking at, is it Ryan Fitzpatrick is playing? I should probably look that up before I start talking. Let me just confirm that. I just want to confirm who's playing. It probably won't affect it unless it's like Tom Brady or something, unless Tom Brady just got traded to the Bucks. I don't really. It looks like he is. Okay, Fitzpatrick is starting. I was right. Ryan Fitzpatrick is starting, and I know he is an average to below average quarterback, especially in 2018. And, man, you're playing against the Saints. I know Ingram is suspended, and I think that will affect some of their games in the future. But for week 1, I don't think it's going to affect that too much. I think they still have Kamara, who will run all over this team. And the Saints' defense last year was stellar, and I think they can keep that up, being a really solid defense. I don't think this is going to even be close. I'm expecting almost a shutout from the Saints. Maybe the Bucks will have a few tricks up their sleeve, but I'm not expecting it. Easily going to go with the Saints here for the win. Not even close. The Saints, I do have some concerns with the Saints. I don't think they're going to even win their division this year, but when it comes to playing the Bucks, I have no short of a confidence that they're going to win this. None whatsoever. Texans and Patriots. Now, this one is a toughie. This is a tough one. I think this is going to be a battle. This is going to be a blood battle. There will be blood. There will be tears. And there will be some sweat as well. The Texans obviously did not have an ideal year last year, but that was simply due to injuries. All their best defensive and offensive players, including JJ, and their brand new fresh quarterback, Watson, who we haven't really seen a lot of, but what we've seen of him was impressive. It was insane, and I think the Texans have a really, really high chance of not only winning their division, but being a really standout team in the AFC if they can stay healthy. And I know to some that's a big if, but for week 1, I mean, they are healthy coming in. Objectively, they're not really unhealthy. They could be by week 2, and they could get hurt during this game. But I'm not going to predict based off that. I'm not going to predict based off what could happen. I'm going to pick off based what can happen. The Patriots, yes, are a great team. Yes, they're at home. But Edelman is out. They lost a few other players. I have confidence in Brady and Gronk, obviously, to do a pretty good job, but without Cooks and without Edelman and Amendola being sort of, average and losing a lot of defensive players. Seem to all have gone to the Titans, by the way, but they lost a lot of defensive players. I don't know if the Patriots are going to be good this year. I mean, no, I do know they're going to be good. I just don't think they're going to be great. And by good, I mean, I think they'll go 11-5, which is still good. And I think you might even get 2nd seed or 3rd seed in the AFC. But I don't know. I think there's a lot of rising powers in the AFC. And I think the Patriots are going to feel the blow here. And that's why I am boldly going with the Texans. I think the Texans are going to win this game. But it is not going to be easy. And it could go either way. The Pats could easily win this game. They could easily even shut them out. I don't know. What the fuck do I know? But at the same time, I think the Texans have an upcoming team. I think they're extremely underrated. I think that they're one of the teams to look out for, not only in AFC South, but the AFC in the football and the NFL in general. Football league, NFL league, whatever I was going to say. I slur my word. Slutter. I can't talk today. I don't know. I'm just excited for football, guys. What do you want from me? What do you want from me? No, but I think the Texans are not easily, but they are going to win this game. It's going to be a difficult battle, but I think ultimately with the defensive powers and if their offense can come alive, they should win. And remember, they only lost. Do you know why they lost last year when the Texans and Pats played? Not because of injury. They were all healthy for the most part. It was the fact that they had Brandon Cooks and Tom Brady going for a defensive play that really changed everything. All right, and now I'm getting interrupted. That's great. Anyway, no, I expect a lot from this game. I think the Texans are ultimately going to win it, and yeah, I think that's what's going to happen. So, Texans. This is a hard game. This is a fucking hard game. I really don't even know what I'm going to predict here. I think San Fran and Vikings are both true teams to look out for in the NFC, and this is a brutal battle. Now, the real questions here are, one, is Jimmy G really what he's worth? Is really what everyone says he is? And number 2, can the Vikings bring over that magic? And those are question marks. I personally think I have more faith in the Vikings when it comes to talent. I think their talent is, very, very strong. But I'm going to go wild. I'm going to go weird. I'm going to go with the San Fran 49ers. Now, listen. I have some questions, all right? I know Kirk Cousins is a really, really solid quarterback, but he's new to this. He's kind of new to the Viking sort of system, and getting into that may be a little rough. And also, I have kind of some confidence in Jimmy G. I don't think he's this god that everyone's saying, and he sure as hell isn't worth the money he's getting paid. But I think at the very least, he is to be, I don't know, praised, to be, maybe not praised, but to be sort of wary of. And I think he can have a good game. I think the 49ers have picked up a lot of good players, but I also think they're a little over cocky. I don't think they're going to be as good as everyone says they are. I'm predicting like a 10-game or a 10-game, maybe 11-game win season. Maybe I'll say 10. I actually think the Vikings are going to have a better record than the 49ers, but I don't know. I just see the 49ers pulling off something here. I just see kind of like, maybe Minnesota underestimating them, and just Minnesota might start off slow. But this could go either way. I don't know what I'm saying. This could really go either way. The Vikings or San Fran. The Vikings could destroy 49ers. The 49ers can destroy the Vikings. But I'm going to make it close. I'm just going to go with the bold prediction here. The 49ers are going to win it. Titans and Dolphins. Yeah, I actually don't have confidence in these teams too much, but I would say I have more confidence in Tennessee. First of all, their defense has gotten significantly better, obviously taking a lot of players from the Pats. Second of all, they have even got a new coach leading them. So I think the Tennessee Titans made a lot of changes. I think they're in a heavily competitive AFC South and just competitive AFC in general, but I don't think the Dolphins can really stand in their way. They have a quarterback who hasn't played in a long time, and really was just average when he was, and they lost a lot of their players. Ajayi is gone. They lost so many explosive guys that just didn't want to be there. And what do they have? They lost a lot of people, and they didn't really replace them with anything. I see the Dolphins being actually one of the worst teams in the league this year, unfortunately, and that's why I'm going to give the win to Tennessee. I think their defense and I think their offense are going to overpower the Dolphins and ultimately end up with the W. So that's what I'm going with. All right, Jaguars and Giants. Now I have some bias here. I got to lay this out right now. I am a hardcore New York Giants fan. I've been a Giants fan almost my entire life. I am into football because of them. I root for them. I am hardcore to the bone a Giants fan. So let that be aware. There's some bias here. Absolutely there is. There's no team I follow more than the Giants. No team I know more about than the Giants. So I feel like I can kind of talk here and say what I think is going to happen. All right. This is going to be an interesting game. You have an upcoming Giants that has, I think, one of the, most interesting offenses in the NFL. They just picked up Saquon Barkley. They got Odell Beckham Jr. Sterling Shepard is looking pretty sharp. And speaking of sharp, they also now have another wide receiver named Sharp. I'm expecting a lot from them. I'm expecting a lot from the offense. They made a lot of additions to their offensive line with Solder and drafting in the second round Will Hernandez. I'm just expecting a lot from the New York Giants. In the same end of the spectrum, I'm also expecting a lot from the Jaguars' defense. Their defense, Saxonville as it was called last year, is a threat. And that could end up causing them to win this game. It really could. But still, at the end of the day, offense versus defense, I don't know. I'm not confident in the Giants' defense. I'm not. I think their secondary is their weakest parts. I think they have a lot of good players in Snacks and Collins. They really do. At the same time, I don't know. I think the Giants' defense is their weakest part of their team. But at the same time, I think the Jags are the offense is their weakest part. They just lost their best receiver. Blake Bortles is still kind of a question mark if he's really that good. I don't know. I don't really have too much confidence in him. So I think that's interesting with itself. You have a good offense going. I think the Giants have a decent offense. I know some may disagree with me, but a good offense going against a good defense and a mediocre to not good offense going against a weakened defense. So it's like, who's going to win here? Who's going to score more points? I think this is going to be sort of like a almost a pretty bloody battle, but I'm biased. I got to go with my Giants winning this one. I think Saquon Barkley, if they play him the whole game, depending on how many snaps they play him, he is currently injured, sort of. I think he is gonna, if he plays a lot of snaps, will definitely affect this team in winning. But I also think Jacksonville's defense will give this offense a lot of trouble, but I don't think the Jacksonville's offense will be able to sort of take too much benefit from that, especially with their best receiver out. They still have Fournette, and they still have some offensive weapons, and their O-line's pretty decent. But I'm just going to go with the Giants in this one. I think they're going to win. It's going to be a close one. This is going to be a bloody battle. I'm expecting, points in the 20s. I'm thinking maybe I don't know, like 24-21 Giants. I don't know. It's going to be close. We'll have to see. We'll have to see what happens. Next game, Steelers and Browns. Now, I know a lot of people are, again, on the Browns hype train. They're going to win. They're going to do this. They're going to do that. And I would agree with you. They do have a lot of talent, offensively, defensively, and they actually look like a pretty decent team if it wasn't for their coaching. Josh Gordon is still a question mark whether he is playing or not, and there's a lot of question marks about it. But there's also question marks around the Steelers, whether Le'Veon Bell is playing or not. What's going on with him? Who really knows? He hasn't shown up to anything. But still, I think at the end of the day, this is going to go to the Steelers. I don't have too much confidence in the Browns. I think they'll have a 5-6 win season, maybe. I don't know. I'm just not too confident in the Browns. I know they have good players, but their coaching and the organization around those players has been awful. And I think until it gets better, they're not going to be able to beat what I think is the best team in the division, the Steelers. So I'm going with the Steelers in this one. That's an easy one for me. This one's hard. Kansas City Chiefs versus the Chargers. A lot of questions around this. Is Patrick Mahomes good? Are the Chargers going to carry over the kind of spark they had at the end of the season? Can they actually make field goals? Hard to say. Divisional rivals. It's a hard game to predict. Chiefs have lost a lot of players. They also gained some players, but they've lost a lot of players, especially defensively. can't see them being the defensive sort of. I can't really even see them doing well defensively in any regard. The Chargers, however, I have a lot of confidence in. Their O-line is not bad. They picked up a lot of decent players, and I honestly am just predicting a good season for the Chargers. Truly, I am. So I'm actually going to be going with the Chargers on this one. Maybe I'm wrong, but I just don't have the confidence in the Chiefs. Maybe Mahomes is great. Maybe the Chiefs prove me wrong. Maybe Andy Reid can actually get a playoff win at the end of the game, end of the season rather. But I don't know, man. I just am gonna go with the Chargers. I actually have more confidence in them. I think they're a better team. I think they have a higher chance of winning, and that's who I'm going with. That is honestly who I am gonna go with. I think the Chargers just have overall a better team. And a lot less question marks. They definitely have question marks, but the Chiefs have a lot more question marks. And I just think the Chargers are going to have a decent year this year and might even have a good chance of winning their division. So that's my 2 cents. Next is Dallas and Carolina Panthers. This one's pretty easy for me. I am not too confident in the Cowboys. They lost. Their receiving core is pretty weak. Their offensive line is gotten weaker. Yes, I know they have Zeke, and Dak is pretty good when Zeke's playing, but when he's not, he's not very good. Luckily, he is playing, but he also always had a decent tight end, a decent receiver, and now both of those gone. And on the defensive end of the ball, I guess they have Lee, but they don't really have too much else to really inspire sort of confidence in me. And I think at the end of the day, Carolina has a better team. I think they have a better quarterback. I think they have better talent. I think they have a better defense. I think they have a better offense. I think they're just overall a better team, and I'm expecting them to have a pretty good year this year, even though they're in a pretty difficult and competitive NFC South. I'm going with the Panthers here. I don't think the Cowboys really have too much of a chance to win this game. Maybe I'm wrong, but they don't really have anything. They have Zeke, and that's really about it. I just can't see them having this blowout game unless they run like all over Carolina, which maybe they might, but that's just not enough to win the game, especially when you don't have any good throwing game or any good sort of defensive game. The Cowboys seem to be a very one-dimensional team, while the Panthers seem to continue to have talent. McCaffrey could go off, Funches could go off, even Cam Newton could go off. So we'll have to see. Next game, we're getting towards the end. We only have, 5 more games to go? The Redskins and the Cardinals. This one is a very tough game for me to pick. Very hard. I don't know how Alex Smith is going to play under the Redskins. I think he's really the only thing they have. Truthfully, I think Alex Smith is the best player on the Redskins. Maybe besides Josh Norman, maybe. It's hard to say. But I don't think he's enough to carry this team. But looking at the Cardinals, I don't really know. I'm not too confident in them either. A lot of question marks here. I think both these teams are rebuilding after mediocre years. In the Redskins' case, they've been mediocre for the past couple years. The Cardinals were good a few years ago, but they're in a tough division, and they have been playing pretty rough, but they have Johnson back, and that's why I'm going to give this to the Cardinals. I think they have the edge. I think they're going to win, run all over the Redskins. I don't think the Redskins defense will be able to stop the Cardinals, and I think this is going to be a pretty solid win by the Cardinals. I'm honestly predicting a 2 or 3 score win for the Cardinals. I think they're easily going to win this one. The Redskins might come alive. They might surprise me, but I'm not putting my money on it. Next game, Seahawks and Broncos, Super Bowl rematch from 2013, and holy shit, have these two teams have changed drastically since then. These probably teams have changed the most in the past 5 years. The Seahawks have Russell Wilson, who is obviously one of the most underrated, and I think the best quarterbacks in the league right now. And they also have no, that's about it. That's about all they have. They lost a lot of players. The Broncos, on the other hand, have Case Keenum, which I'm not too confident that he's going to be this breakout star or play as well as he did in the Vikings. But they have picked up a lot of defensive players. They got Chubb. They have they did lose Talib, but I don't know. I think he just kind of deserved to go. I really do have a lot of confidence in the Broncos. I think they're going to play very, very well. I think they're going to win this game easily. Win this game pretty easily. I don't think that they're going to do well this whole season necessarily, but I think against the Seahawks, who have lost a lot of players defensively, lost a shit ton of offensive and defensive players. Russell Wilson's the only one carrying them. They couldn't even kick a field goal last year, which is why they drafted a kicker pretty high in the draft. Their draft wasn't very good. They lost a lot of players. Their coaching is mediocre. I think Russell Wilson could carry them to a win against another team if it wasn't the Broncos that had a very stellar defense and gained a lot of strides defensively. So I'm going with the Broncos in this one. I think this is an easy win for the Broncos. The Bears and the Packers, Sunday Night Football. This one's hard for me to decide. I don't really know. I truthfully don't who's going to win this game. The Bears have picked up a lot of players in the draft and offseason. They just got Khalil Mack. And there's a lot of question marks around Green Bay. They seem to get better, a little bit better defensively and even offensively. And they got Jimmy Graham, who I don't think is going to be that good, but could end up making a difference. And I think Aaron Rodgers always has a chance to win, which is why I'm going to go with the Packers. They're the safer team here. This is going on safe, but I could see an upset by the Bears. I actually kind of hope they do. The Bears have had rough years the past couple of years, and I really hope this will come back alive. I always like rooting for the underdog, so I'm going to go rooting for the Bears, but I think with Aaron Rodgers back, the Packers will win this. However, I think if the Bears get hot, they'll beat them the second time when they're at home. But being away, I'm just going to give it the advantage to the home team here. This could go either way. It's probably going to be a good game, maybe a close-scoring game. High defensive game for sure. This is going to be a defensive game like crazy, but I'm going to end up going with the Packers. We're going to the Monday Night Football now. 2 Monday Night Football game. The Jets and the Lions. Oof, a lot of question marks here. The Jets have Sam Darnold, who could be really, really good. He doesn't really have too many weapons around him. That's the problem. And Matt Stafford is the exact same way. We know Matt Stafford's a really good quarterback. And yes, they have, Matt Patricia as a head coach, and that's might help them maybe. I actually don't know. But I think at the end of the day, both these teams have really good quarterbacks. I think Sam Darnold is going to be really good. But I don't think they have too much else around that. I think this will come down to whose ever defense is better, which I can't even tell you whose defense is better or going to be better. But I'm just going to give them the edge. I'm going to go ahead and say it. I'm picking the Jets in this one. I think the Jets can win this one. I also think the Lions can win this one. But I am just going to put my money on the Jets. I think that Sam Darnold will play very well, and I think they will surprise us and beat the Lions in a very close game on Monday Night Football. The last game, the Rams, Raiders. This is an easy one for me. The Rams have picked up an insane amount of players. Insane. Not only do they now have Brandon Cooks and Aqib Talib and Ndamukong Suh, but they have Todd Gurley, who is incredible. They have one of the best young coaches who did an incredible job last year. And I don't have any doubt they're going to obliterate the Raiders. I have no doubt. The Raiders just get rid of Khalil Mack. They get rid of a few other players. It seems like they kind of are just putting all their money and all their focus on Derek Carr, who I think is he's not bad, but yes, I know that injuries sort of, screwed over the Raiders last year, but I don't know, man. I don't have too much confidence in John Gruden. I just think people are he's a little overpaid, and I think maybe the fact that he's getting paid all this money, he's kind of just doing whatever he wants, and getting rid of Khalil Mack was an awful decision. I just think that the Raiders really don't have anything. They really don't have anything, especially with getting rid of so many players, especially defensively. Their defense was pretty bad last year, even with one of the best defensive players in the league, and now without him, and against this fucking Rams offense, not even close. Not even close. Shutout. I'm predicting almost a shutout from the Rams. Maybe the Raiders score 1 or 2 touchdowns, but besides that, the Rams, I think, are going to obliterate this team, and I think they're going to be one of the best teams in the NFL. Those are my Week 1 predictions. How wrong am I going to be? We'll find out. But I will be back next week, most likely next Wednesday, to make Week 2 predictions and maybe even reflect on these, depending on my mood, or maybe I'll just reflect on like 2 or 3 major games that I was completely wrong on. I have all of my predictions written out, so I have them in front of me. So when I'm watching the games, which I probably won't be looking at this, but if I want to, I can look at it after all the games are over and see how wrong or right I was, and maybe I'll make like a score. Maybe I don't know if I get like 8 out of 16 games right or 10 out of 16 games. We will see. But there we go. That's my predictions for Week 1. Go to my Twitch to watch all sorts of stuff. Follow me on Twitter. If you're watching this on Twitch, go to my YouTube. Thanks so much for watching. And I'll see you guys my future streams and next week for some more NFL predictions. Sorry, the second half of this was a little rushed. I kind of have to go do something. It came out of nowhere. So I'm going to go end up doing that now. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope to see you guys in the future. Bye-bye.